Hello, beautiful people. I do apologize for being a little bit behind, but I will make up for it. This is going to be a good lesson. I pray that you guys have had an amazing day and you have gotten you some rest. You've had a productive week, all of that, yada, 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 jive, all that pretty stuff. But anyhow, I'm so glad to see you guys. I want to talk about this. I really want to deal with romantics. I know that, it could be a little bit, and forgive me, I'm getting my stuff together. I know that it can be a little bit like, why are we talking about Nick Cannon? We're the church or what have you. Let's just be honest with ourselves. Let's just keep it real. The spirit of the world is still in Christianity, right? A lot of people still deal with the spirit of the world. Number one. Number two, there are still people having babies in church. And so my objective with this particular message is to give you, a little bit of insight into romantics, especially if you happen to be number one, a babe in Christ, or number two, you don't necessarily have to be a babe in Christ. You just have to make sure that you're using wisdom. And so that's the point. That's the reason I wanted to make sure that I address this. So give me a second. I'm just getting all this stuff together because the sister was running behind. Anyhow, I'm glad to see y'all. I am so happy to see you guys. Do me a favor as you come into the room. Be sure to like and to share. I'm going to give my disclaimers again once everybody comes in. It looks a little bit dark, which is one of the reasons I was running behind. I don't know if it's something going on with the camera or is it a dark shirt, brother Andre. Thank you. God bless you. I don't know if it's something going on with the camera. I don't know if it's a dark shirt. I don't know what's going on, but it is what it is. I want to get this lesson out and then I'm going to go back to work. All right. So do me a favor, guys. Again, be sure to come in. I want to talk about the signs of romantics. And hear me when I tell you this. If you're a believer and you're single, you want to hear this. If you're in a relationship, you want to hear this. If you have children that are, let's say, teenage stage, you're in the stage where they're starting to like the opposite sex, you're going to want to make sure that you share this with them. All right. So the reason I wanted to address this is because, like I said, this is something that's still happening in Christianity today. I'm going to jump right into this article. Comes from Business Insider. Don't know if I shared this article. I'll make sure I share the link. But it is this is recent news, and this is something I think that we want to make sure that we are aware of in the church. I think that we need to make sure that we're educated. I think when it comes to the church, we're not necessarily educated, and I think his story or his latest news and pretty much his life is an example of what I want to talk about, which is why I thought this is a good idea to just kind of share, what they're talking about. So let me go ahead and get into it. Business Insider reports, and this is an article they wrote on today. I'm thinking it says Nick Cannon, who has fathered 12 kids with 6 women, said he wishes he could have had a kid with Christina Milian. Is that not Milan? I think that's how you pronounce her now. Her name. Nick Cannon, I'm saying that again, Nick Cannon, who has fathered 12 kids with 6 women, says he wished he could have had a kid with Christina Milian. Now, they're no longer together. They're no longer together. And if you need interpretation, if you need me to break it down for you, if you need me to kind of spell it out what he just said, basically he's saying he wish he could have made her into a single mother. I'm okay. I'm gonna get to the article. I'm just trying to wait for everybody to come in. I know people are coming in a little bit slow. And we have been trying to wait till we get at least 100 deep, and I'll read a little bit of the article, but not the entirety of the article. But in this, he's literally saying they're no longer together, but he's saying he wish he had a kid with her. In other words, he wish he had made her a single mother. And also, I think you have to hear it this way. It's not just he wish he had made her a single mother. Basically, he's saying, I wish I still had access. I'm gonna give you some notes. I got some stuff I wrote down on my phone that's gonna really help you. But he's saying, I wish I still had access to her. I wish I had a soul tie with her. One of the things I've been working on a book. I want to talk about the different types of soul ties and what have you. But a child can serve as a soul tie. It connects two souls. It connects two people together. And this is the one soul tie that you can't get rid of legally. You shouldn't try to get rid of. But a child connects you to a person for the rest of your life. And so I want you to understand what he's really saying. So I'm going to go back to the article, but I want to make sure I give this disclaimer because we got a lot of new people in the room. I want to give this disclaimer. I am in no way into Nick Cannon. I'm in no way, like, I don't follow that kind of stuff, right? It happened to pop up on my page, and I thought it was a good opportunity, a good teaching lesson. So before somebody comes to me talking about, oh, that's the world stuff and all that. At the end of the day, it's still a lot of Christians coming out of the world. There are still a lot of Christians who are in the church, but they still have the spirit of the world. There's still a lot of Christians practicing fornication. Okay. And so my objective in this particular message is to just give you insight. The objective of insight is to help you to understand from where you are right now, where you're going to end up if you go down the wrong path. After that, it is up to you if you continue on that path. It is up to you if you continue on that path. So I'm going to go back to the article. And like I said, I just want to give that disclaimer that I can't. I'm not against Tim Ford or what have you. He's in the world. I don't think twice about that kind of stuff, but it's something that came up, and it really kind of aligns with a lot of things I try to get ladies to understand. And I believe that this will help you, especially for those of you who are currently dealing with butterflies. And I got some articles I'm gonna read to you guys on today. I got some notes for you. Don't worry, we won't be in here long, but this is gonna help you. Again, this comes from Business Insider, and it says Nick Cannon, who has fathered 12 kids with 6 women, said he wishes he could have had a kid with Christina Milian. Now, let me go down. Nick Cannon, a TV personality who has fathered 12 kids with 6 women, said that he wishes that he had a child with Christina Milian, his ex-girlfriend and former co-star. In an interview with the Shade Room's Thembi Mwema, published Sunday, Cannon said that he regretted not fathering a baby with Milian when he found out that she was pregnant with someone else's child. I'm going to read that part again because that's going to bless your life. And I'm going to help you out here because I want you to understand, the science of romantics and how this thing works. In an interview with the Shade Room's Thembi Mwema, published Sunday, Cannon said that he regretted not fathering a baby with Milian when he found out she was pregnant with someone else's baby. Well, he found out she was pregnant with someone else's child. All right, that's it. That's all I'm going to read in that particular article. Now, the first thing I want to kind of bring out, and I'm trying not to jump ahead into my notes, but he didn't say I wish I had a kid with her because I love her. I think she was an amazing person. I would have loved to have a piece of her. I would have loved to still, just had something to share with her, like something from that moment, even though that still would have been relatively asinine. The concept of leaving somebody as a single mother. He didn't say that. He said, I regret not having kids with her when I found out she was having another man's baby. And if you don't understand that men are created to be territorial creatures, I don't know what else to tell you. If you don't understand that men are created to be territorial creatures, I don't know what else to tell you. One thing about it is all of us, females and males, we have to bring our flesh into subjection to the word of God, right? We have to subdue our flesh. And when it comes to women, there are things that carnal women do. When it comes to men, there are things that carnal men do. And if you don't subdue the flesh has an appetite that can never be satisfied. I'm gonna say that again. The flesh has an appetite that can never, on this side of eternity, there is nothing you can do to satisfy a void. I want you to hear me when I say that. There's nothing you can do to satisfy a void. So if I sound all over the place in a minute, just forgive me, guys, because I wrote some stuff down real quick. But let me see what this is. Give me a second. We're gonna get okay. All right. We are in that time now. 1 second. Let me see where I want to go with y'all. Let me see. Do me a favor again. Be sure to like and share. I'm glad to see y'all. I didn't come out on Wednesday. Got really busy. Let's see. I don't know why I put that scripture. Okay. Let's just go ahead and move into the notes. So one of the things I'm going to be dealing with romantics, and when I say romantics, I want you to think of it from a scientific standpoint. I want you to think about like the study of romance. I want to deal with it from that particular standpoint, because a lot of women, the thing about life is all of us want to believe what we want to believe, when we want to believe it, and how we want to believe it, and where we want to believe it, because we believe that if we, regardless of what happens, as far as what the Bible says, regardless of what science is proven, regardless of any of those things, we like to believe that things will be different for us. Like I'm exempt, because I'm a good person. We like to believe that we're exempt. And I want you to come to understand that over the course of life, what I've learned, as you get older, you start learning the patterns of life, right? There's such thing as patterns. Like there's nothing new underneath the sun. That's what the Bible says. You start learning the patterns of life, and you start learning that what you seen, like the stuff that you see, like breakups, fatherlessness in homes, all of that stuff is not new under the sun. And you start seeing the patterns. You start seeing what happens to children that are born in those type of households, right? You start understanding that, like the patterns, if they don't break the curse, you start understanding. And if you get an understanding of that, and I don't know how to say this any other way, forgive me, I've been fighting with allergies, but I don't know any other way to say this, and this may sound asinine, but if you get an understanding of that, while the discerning of spirits is necessary and needed and good, you won't always have to be going and trying to discern a spirit. All you have to do is know patterns. Did I make sense? All you have to do is know patterns. Like, what are the patterns, right? Not just the patterns of a person. You want to make sure you understand the patterns of a person, because they're going to repeat themselves. I don't know who needs to hear that. They're going to repeat themselves. Those patterns are going to repeat themselves. But the only way a pattern is broken. Now, don't you allow yourself to be target practice, whereas a person says, well, I'm gonna break my pattern on you. I know I got a bad past and I did that, but I'm gonna break my pattern on you. You got to hear me when I say it. When it comes to a pattern is a stronghold, right? If it's something a person repeatedly does, that's a stronghold. It sounds good. Everybody feels like they can break their own strongholds until they find themselves in the midst of it, until they find themselves at the heart or the core of their stronghold. So that is to say that don't end up becoming target practice, right? Don't end up becoming target practice, because eventually, once you get to that state, once you get to that place with that particular person, when you get to that phase, you're going to find that they're going to repeat it again. People, somebody need to write this down. You have to break your strongholds outside of a relationship before you get in one. You got to break them outside of a relationship. You can't get into a relationship and say, well, I'm going to break all of the patterns I had, the bad things I used to do. I'm going to break that with you. Like, I'm going to break the curse with you. No, you have to break those patterns outside of a relationship. And I know you may say, well, Tiffany, what about patterns, for a relationship? No, that starts with not necessarily romantic relationships, but you have to break that pattern by establishing a pattern of faithfulness with God. You got to establish a pattern of consistency and faithfulness with God. That's what's going to help you to break the curse. But I don't want to jump ahead of myself. I have another article I want to read to you guys, because one of the things I want to deal with, again, we're dealing with romantics. And I got some notes for y'all, and then we'll get out of here. This one is from Health Plus. It's called The Science Behind Why We Fall in Love. The Science Behind Why We Fall in Love. And let's see here. Making sure. Okay, this is better.mountelizabeth.com.sg. Better.mountelizabeth.com.sg. Forgive the allergies. I just took some Allegra. I had a funny story. Well, not a funny story. I went to CVS after leaving my appointment today. I had an appointment at the last shop. I went to CVS after listening to my last check talk about, them buying medication from, behind the counter. I was like, they do sell medication behind the counter. So I went over there and bought me some Allegra. I bought some Allegra, what have you. I took it. It feels like it's working. We bless the name of the Lord, because I literally did not sleep last night because my allergies decided to keep me up all night. But that's neither here nor there. Again, this one is entitled The Science Behind Why We Fall in Love. Do you believe in love at first sight? How about love at first smell? Read on to discover the science behind falling in love and this Valentine's Day. It's an old article. Okay, we talked about the moment of falling in love. Just let me see if I can just kind of click down. Let me just go ahead. I'm going to come down to here. Stage 1. According to Dr. Helen Fisher, a renowned anthropologist, there are 3 distinct phases of falling in love. Stage 1, lust. Lust is driven by the levels of testosterone, men, and progesterone. I think she's supposed to be estrogen. That's spelled wrong. Okay, estrogen, women in our bodies. This isn't so difficult from other mammals on the planet. I think I put the link to this in the comment section. But lust is driven by the levels of testosterone, men, and estrogen, women in our bodies. This isn't so different from other mammals on the planet. That's got me thinking. That's a whole other revelation. I'll have to come back another time. Stage 2, attraction is similar and feeling to the effects of certain drugs or alcohol. The emotion of euphoria and a release of the jumble of chemicals in the brain, including dopamine, pleasure, adrenaline, fight or flight, and norepinephrine. I don't know how to say that one. What is that? Norepinephrine alertness can make falling in love feel like an addictive rush. Adrenaline, in particular, is the reason your cheeks feel flushed, your palms feel sweaty, and your heart races when you meet someone. This is important because I want you to understand your own body. I want you to understand the psychology of that, so that you can use wisdom when it comes to dating or what have you. And then we'll get back into the whole Nick Cannon thing. Stage 3, attachment sees the release of dopamine, and there's a weird word again, norepinephrine, replaced with oxytocin, the cuddle hormone, which is why you may begin to feel closely bonded and start making long-term plans together. While the 3 phases of love might seem straightforward, there are several other factors that affect who you end up falling in love with. Many of us say we have a type, but is this true? I'll stop it right there. Again, this is Health Plus. This is on mountelizabeth.com.sg. The reason this is important is because right now, today, there are a lot of children being born out of wedlock, even in the church. There are a lot of children being born out of wedlock because most people don't know the psychology of their own mind, the psychology of their body, and they're not that educated as it relates to the Bible. Consequently, one of the things that we have right now, which is relatively dangerous, is we have a lot of what I call dopamine heads walking the earth. We have a lot of people walking around who are living in a world of fantasy. We have a lot of people walking around living in a world of fantasy, making reckless decisions. Consequently, what eventually happens is a lot of children are born into this earth because I'm going to just keep it real. You guys have heard me say this before. A lot of children are born into this earth fatherless because mama and daddy sobered up. Are y'all here? Don't let me be on here by myself today. The reason that y'all broke up is because mama or daddy sobered up. The problem that we have right now, I went and I pulled up, and I'm probably not going to go through that article or what have you, but I pulled up as it relates to Nick Cannon. That's somebody we just have to pray for. It's somebody in the world. I'm not coming for him. I'm not, trying to put him on blast, what have you. It's a lot of people reporting on that because he recently said that. But when it comes down to it, one of the things I want you to understand more than anything is that most people are addicted to a feeling, not you. Most people are addicted to feelings, not you. Most people love the feeling of being in love. Let's just be real. It's an addictive feeling. It's an amazing feeling. Most people like that feeling. Most people throw their inhibitions to the wind because they want to experience their euphoria, right? Most people do that. Consequently, like I said, what ends up happening is, one, you end up idolizing your feelings, which creates an addiction. It creates an addiction, meaning you become addicted to that feeling, that feeling of being in love, that feeling of being high. You become addicted to that feeling, not understanding that that's not actual love. Love has nothing to do with how a person makes you feel. The butterflies in the stomach, the sweaty palms, the racing heart, that's not love. I don't know who needs to hear that. That's not love. What that is your mind responding to, and your body responding to what's in your mind. The Bible says, guard your heart, for out of it pours the issues of life. That is a response of the heart. That is your heart saying that it has been invaded. That is your heart saying that something has got in. That's it. I remember seeing somebody on TikTok. I've been preaching this for a while. And I saw somebody on TikTok, and I think she was in the world of psychology or what have you. She was talking about that. I've been preaching this for a while. And she gave confirmation to it, what she was saying, that the heart, whenever the heart has been invaded, that is a sign. Whenever you start experiencing those things, that is your heart saying, that we have deemed it to be a good feeling. That is your heart saying, hey, listen, somebody just came in. Sister Octavia, God bless you. Thank you, sis. That's your heart saying, listen, sorry to let you know, somebody just came in. Like, there's a soul tie being formed right now. That's your heart's way of saying that. That another way of saying it, that is your heart's alarm going off. That's not a good thing if you don't know the person. Because if you don't know a person, you should not be developing feelings for that person. If you don't know a person, you should not be developing feelings for that person. You should not be developing, I think I'm in love with the person, because you're not in love with the actual person if you don't know them. Okay, let me say it this way. How can you know it? How can you love God if you don't know the word? I want you to think about it. How can you love God if you don't know his word? After all, he is his word. Now, you may love the idea of God. You may love the idea of who God is. He saves, he loved you despite your sins, all of that. All of that is that's like the icing on the cake. But there's revelation to God. There's wisdom to God. There are levels to God. So if you don't know God, you can't love him, right? So you can have feelings toward God. And I think a lot of people have that. A lot of people go to church and they'll do the hucklebuck, they'll cry. They got feelings for God. But God said, if you love me, what? Keep my commandments. Isn't that what he said? He said, if you love me, keep my commandments. How are you going to keep something that you're not aware of? And of course, we know we're no longer under the curse of the law. We're under the new law, which is love your neighbor, love God with all of your heart, mind, and your soul. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. That's it. And everything that encompasses everything. How can you say you love somebody when you genuinely don't know you don't know their attitude when they're angry? You don't know the science of them. You don't know the different things about them. You don't know their patterns. You don't love them. You love the idea. The reason I'm preaching is, like I said, you might as well share this with your daughters. It'll stop you from having a bunch of grandbabies that are going to end up being raised by you, the grandparent. When somebody comes along and they say I love you, that's something that they may be feeling. They think that that's love, but what we've constituted or what we've defined as love is not love. So in the case with Nick Cannon, while we see him running around spreading his seed, like I said, I looked at his timeline. And one thing about it is you always want to look at a person's timeline. Like, what is your history? The history will tell you all you need to know about a person. How long have you been in that relationship? I was with her for a year. How about the next girl? 2 years. How about the next girl? 2 years. How about the next girl? A year. How about the next girl? 6 months. What that tells me is that person has a tenure of 2 years. What that tells me, Nick Cannon has patterns. He has patterns. When I looked, I saw his relationship. Some of his relationship lasts like all the way up to like 5, 6 years. He has patterns. Most people do, because patterns are what we call strongholds. He has patterns. His patterns is he get into these relationships, and 9 times out of 10, he does like a lot of people who are addicted to their feelings. It's not about you, it's about their feelings. They're addicted to their feelings. I'm in love with you. I can't stop thinking about you. I want you to have my kid, the whole nine. He has kids with them, but then at some point there's a sobering. We'll deal with that. At some point there's a sobering. Once the sobering happens, he's out 5,000. Once responsibility enters the picture, once that hormone, once those dopamine levels and stuff like that start going down, then right then and there, he thinks there's something wrong with the relationship. I'm not supposed to be here. And then he's out 5,000. He's not going out looking for another woman. He's looking for that feeling again. He's not looking for another woman. He's looking for that feeling. You got to understand, some people are addicted to a feeling. He's not looking for another woman. Now he's going to go get another woman because that's where he finds that feeling. He finds that feeling when he gets that. So let me go ahead and a few things I wanted to kind of just talk about, and we'll get out of here, because like I said, this is not one of those messages that's going to be like super deep, how to get into the presence of God or what have you. This is basic level. This is some stuff you need to choose so that you can be careful as it relates, to your heart. You can be careful when you're out here in these streets that you don't end up becoming. And I know many of you are already single parents. Okay, that's fine. You've already did that. All that. You got to learn a lesson behind it, because some of you, let's just be honest, you still haven't learned your lesson. You still haven't learned your lesson. There's another kid that's going to come into this earth, and 9 times out of 10 end up being without a two-parent household, because you're addicted to feelings. You're moving based on your feelings. Feelings in the beginning of a relationship, they feel amazing. It's like a fire. You want to keep it going, right? That stuff feels amazing. However, you have to understand that that's not love, and you have to understand that you don't reward that feeling. I'm going to say it again. You don't reward that feeling. You don't, okay, you get butterflies in your stomach, all that. You don't reward that feeling with a kiss. You don't reward that feeling with touching on each other. You don't reward that feeling with sex, because what you're doing is you're fanning the flame of that feeling. You're giving yourself an extended lesson. While it will help to keep the fire going, but the fire is called lust. That's not love. The fire is called lust. That's not love. It'll keep the fire going, and it's an amazing feeling. And like I said, most people are addicted to it. Let me tell you the reason I've realized most people are addicted to that feeling. It's because most people have never truly wholeheartedly experienced love. I'm gonna get into these. I got about what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 packs. But most people don't know what true love feels like. Because do you know actual true love is not a feeling? Do y'all do know that love is not a feeling, right? It's a revelation. It's not a feeling. It's a revelation. I can't love God if I don't know him. So he gives me a revelation of who he is, but I only get that revelation is if I seek him. So God said, if you seek, you shall find. I have to seek him. I have to pursue him. How do I do that? I pursue him by studying his word. I pursue him by going to church. I have to pursue him. And another way to pursue him, a little bit of controversial, another way of seeking him is therapy. Because what I'm trying to do, therapy makes me remove myself from the equation. Therapy makes me say, while that happened, I can't keep making this about me. Because victim's mentality is destroying a lot of people. Victim's mentality will make you think you're exempt from God's word because don't nobody understand what you went through. Victim's mentality will have you out here busting it open all over the place. 3, 4, 5 kids with different daddies. You got a light-skinned kid, a dark-skinned kid, a Latino kid, and an Oriental kid. You got all these kids because you're looking for somebody to fill a void. Victim's mentality will make you go out here, and every time you think, okay, well, this guy's different. I know the other ones, they were a joke. They were, but he told me he'll never do that to me. He told me that, I don't see how matter of fact, he got mad when I told him, the guy cheated on me. He was like, I can't stand when no man cheat on a woman. And you keep defining that as, oh my God, look at him. He's faithful. He would never cheat. I'm going to give you a little revelation. This is not just to the guys. This is not just to the women. This is to the men. Just because somebody hates something or pretends to hate something don't mean they're not going to do it to you. Number one. 2, it can be something, a reflection of their childhood trauma. 3, it's just them trying to entertain your thoughts. That's it. While he's sitting there, bro, I would never do that to you, man. I hate when a man cheat on. That could have been something his dad did to his mom. So that moment has nothing to do with you. All the same, even if he's allergic to cheating, even if he's faithful, even if he's the type of person that I ain't never cheated on a woman. I'm trying to tell you, man, I ain't never cheated on a woman. I never cheated on a woman. And that's one thing you ain't got to worry about with me. That doesn't mean he's going to be a good man or a good woman to the guy. That just means that's one issue that he won't have. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I've been in more than one relationship. Okay. Obviously, I've been in more than one relationship. And one thing you learn over the course of time, if you dated, more than one person over the course of your life, you come to realize that just because the man in front of me does not have the same issues as the man behind me doesn't mean that he doesn't have issues. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to likely find issues in him that the man behind me didn't have. Somebody got to hear it. I'm going to find issues in him that the man behind me didn't have. Okay. You guys know I was married. I bit my tongue. You guys know I was married twice back in my silly days. When I look at both of those guys, when you get in a relationship, you will, compare. The guy that I found myself with the second time, I was sitting there like, he had some things. I was like, okay, I ain't got to worry about this. I ain't got to worry about the cheating. I ain't got to worry about that. Lies. But he also had some issues that the first guy didn't have. One of the issues that he had, he wasn't that protective of me. He wasn't a coverer. He wasn't a protector. He kind of left me out there, right? He let me fight against his family by myself. He let his family say whatever they want or do whatever they want. So I'm saying that at one phase, I was deceived because I'm sitting there looking at, oh my gosh, I'm looking at the problem I had with that guy, and it doesn't appear I have the problem with this guy. But this guy had a whole other set of issues. And you find out that issue feels worse than the issue that the other person had. It feels worse. So I'm saying that to say, don't get caught up in that. I believe that if you listen to this type of message and you listen to it as entirety and you take it to heart and you start asking God to lead you on your journey, you ask God to pick your spouse for you or to help you in picking your spouse. If you ask God to deliver you from anybody that is not from Him, if you ask God, if you get God involved and you move with God, I believe that you will have a healthy, happy, successful relationship, right? But if you don't, if you do like most Americans and a lot of people in the church, if you do American culture and you get caught up in your feelings, you'll be just another statistic. And nobody wants to believe that because it's me, right? It's me. It's me. Why would that happen to me? I think I'm a little bit more discerning. I think I'm a little bit wiser. No, you end up getting yourself humbled, right? You end up getting humbled. Every time you think that the word of God does not apply to you, you end up getting yourself humbled. So I'm going to give you 5 facts and we'll go from there. We'll see where we go from there. 5 facts. Number 1, men are territorial creatures. We talked about that before, even after a breakup. It's just in their nature. They're hunters by nature. Once they conquer territory, that is territory, right? That's the reason why, especially when they're carnal, as they grow and mature, they start learning to let go a little bit more. But still, if you're in a relationship, you're still gonna have to, be like, hey, you good? Because they'll have that temptation to go and look at the ex and see what she's doing, what she up to. What do you think that Cannon did? He went, he looked, found out this girl, he saw that she had a kid with another person. He didn't have to look because she's a celebrity. And he said, I wish I had knocked her up. I wish I had turned her into a single mother. That way I would have had access to her. I wish I had got that. Sister Nicole, God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. I wish I had knocked her up. Yeah, women are territorial as well. They're territorial, but men is wired in men. Women just pick it up by default. Women can be territorial, but men are territorial creatures. And the reason I say that to my brothers, I want y'all to hear me. I said this before. If I go to my inbox, I got exes from 20 years ago in my inbox. I don't entertain them. I don't respond to them. Friend requests, all of that kind of stuff, because they're territorial. Because I understand that I don't get flattered. Because I understand that I don't get flattered. I don't sit up there and be like, oh my God, he's thinking about me. Let me say something. No, I'd be like, what do you think this is? Because I know that's just a man being territorial. That's just a person that had a thought and then he still sees you as his. Even though you're not his woman, you're still his ex. But there's still some ownership going on. And so a lot of y'all entertain your exes. And what you're doing is you're delaying God's promise for you because you keep on entertaining the wrong man and you want God to send the right man. And the right man ain't going to come in and want to deal with that. No man wants to come and get in a relationship and find out that you're still entertaining your ex, even if you're just chatting. Even if you're just chatting, don't be flattered. Men are territorial, even after a breakup. Number 2, a baby to a carnal man, and an immature man as well. A baby to a carnal man is a symbol of conquering. It is a flag, pheromones with legs, and the extended access to the mother. I'm gonna call it what it is. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. When I was in the world, that was something I heard quite a bit. Tiffany, I want you to have my baby. Yeah, you good. You better. You right not to let me touch you, cause I'm gonna get you pregnant. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm talking about on purpose. I'm gonna get you pregnant. And when I was in the world, I didn't look at that as, oh my God, he wants to be with me forever. No, I looked at it from a sober place. I had a whole attitude about it because when a man said that to me, it upset me because what I heard him saying, I'm gonna knock you up. I'm going to make you into a single mother just so I can have extended access to you. Just so I can have extended access to you. I'm gonna knock you up, have you walking around here with a big old belly or what have you, and then I go on about my business. And that way I can keep coming around. A baby, number 2 again, a baby to a carnal man is a symbol of conquering. That means he's conquered you. This got a little red flag. You the moon. He got his red flag. He just stuck that red flag or that white flag in the ground. He didn't conquer you. I got a baby with her. I can't tell you how many times I've seen it with the men in my family just be bragging on people that they had kids with, but they don't have nothing to do with their kids. Bragging on the fact that they got kids, they will go around their kids just long enough to take a couple of pictures, post the pictures all over social media, but still have no relationship with their kids. Be throwing money uh, away to anything else, but won't buy anything for their kids. And if they do one little thing on tax season for their kids, they'll post it to social media because they want y'all to think that they're good fathers. Why? Because they want to they're trying to get more women. A baby to a carnal man is a symbol of conquering. It's about conquering. It is a flag. It's a flag. Um, Pheromones with legs. You know how a dog go and pee on the wall? Or a dog go and pee on a tree? You that tree. You that tree. And it extended access to the mother. Immediately, I started thinking about, y'all know the story, the kidnap story with the ex. I immediately started thinking about him, red flag that I got with him. And I was like most women, you can see the red flags, but the red flags they're fun to play with for a minute, right? Come on, let's just be honest, women. We just like ladies, you can see the red flags, but sometimes you just want to play with the flag, right? You just want to see it, see how far the dude's gonna go. Like you really talking about kids and all that. Red flag that came up probably the first day I met him, he started talking about kids with me. He started saying, I know you're going to be the mother of my kids. I know you're going to be this, you're going to be that. And, at one point, it sounds cute. When you're young, it sounds cute because this guy is standing there and telling you, looking down at you, telling you, I want a piece of you. But he didn't know me. Why would you want to have kids with me? You don't know anything about me. You don't know anything about that is a red flag. But what he was saying is, I like you so much that I want to mark you. Because yes, a man can meet you one day and decide I want to mark you. A man can meet you and decide, I want to mark you. Some of y'all are walking around with PP on your back right now. You'd have been marked by so many dudes, and you wondering why there is this scent around you where you can't be found by your husband because you got all these scents. And the worst part of it is you haven't went and baptized yourself in repentance to get those scents off of you. So now you have to keep on dealing with the same demon in a different man. You have to keep on dealing with these exes coming up and popping up and what have you. You walking around right now, you got PP stains all over you because you're allowing men to come into your life not understanding the nature of a carnal man. I've told y'all, and I've told y'all before. One of the things you want to educate yourself on. I've done couples counseling with married folk, and one of the things I always tell them, one of the biggest things, one of the biggest problems they tend to have is that the woman don't understand men and the men don't understand women. Big mistake. You want to understand how a guy, okay, you want to understand how, like, what's common to men. You want to understand what's common to American men if your guy happens to be American man. You want to understand to the guys, you want to understand what's common to women, right? You want to understand, like, okay, women can be emotional. That's one of the things you want to understand. You want to understand that typically around the cycle, pre-menstrual, like a week before her cycle comes on, women tend to have fluctuating, emotions, right? They can be a little bit sad or what have you. You want to know those different things about women, including American culture. Culture says, hey, listen, open the door for a female. That's just common. You open the door, there are certain things that you do. You want to understand those things. Okay, those are the basics. But then you want to also understand the person that you're with because they have their own culture. You want to understand the culture of their family. You want to understand the person that they're with. Number three, you want to also understand their wiring. When I tell you, I just gave y'all something. You want to understand their wiring because let's say, for example, if you're with a prophet, they're emotional. You want to understand that that's a prophet. Prophets are emotional. Prophets have a tendency to think of the past, talk about the past. They have a tendency to live in the past, right? Which is why a lot of times they deal with unforgiveness. If you're dealing with an apostle is a builder. Apostles are future minded. They're future minded. They're pretty much not going to want to dwell on the past. They're going to want to keep building. So when it comes down to it, for example, if you got a friend who's an apostle and you try to sit down and talk to her about, girl, he left me, she's going to be like, okay, get up and dust yourself off. Let's go get something to eat. Let's go do this. You want to understand all of those things. It helps you to understand a person. And if both people do that, there's less offensive. I'm trying not to itch. Yeah, I feel like my camera's not looking too good today. I don't know what it is. Is it this dark hair? What? Okay, what is it? What's going on? My camera's not looking that good. You want to understand those different dynamics because it creates where it's less offensive. So, for example, just for example, if you as a man understand that women have cycles and you got a woman that cycles, if you understand that and then you understand how hers works, you understand that okay, 3 days before hers come on or 7 days before hers come on, she's a little bit emotional. You can learn to make a joke of that. You can learn to kind of play with that and help her to navigate that, right? When her cycle's on, she this way, she may start whining and crying. I'm just tired. You drop your underwear on the floor and I can't do it anymore. And you're like, you crying over underwear on the floor. Instead of you saying, see, that's what's wrong with y'all women right now. Y'all, no, no, because right then and there, both of y'all are emotional. But you have to be in that moment practical, logical. You have to be in that moment. It's gotta be funny for you. Thank you, Sister Ash. Love you. It's gotta be funny for you. It's gotta be funny for me. Funny for you. Thank you. Thank you. It's gotta be funny for you. It's gotta be, baby, what's today? I think you got PMS. Come here, let me hug you. Let me hug you. I tell you what. It's 2 in the morning. Let's go get some chocolate, okay? Women like chocolate when they're on their period, okay? That's it. Just a little bit of insight. Women like chocolate when they're on their period. Let's go. Let's go. Look, we're gonna go. We finna go. We're gonna go over here to the gas station. I'm gonna get you all the chocolate, the caffeine, everything that you want right now. Okay. Trust me, you're gonna probably have a kid after that because once that second come out, she's gonna be all over. Because right there in that moment, you could have beat her down when she was already in that pit. When she was already down, you could have beat her down, but instead you utilize that as a moment to say, "I see where you are. I see what's wrong with you. I understand, or what have you. While I don't necessarily like it, it doesn't have to be personal. And understanding why the wiring of a person helps. It helps masterfully. It helps a lot. Understanding whether your person is an introvert, extrovert, or ambivert. That helps. That helps because if you're in a relationship with a person that's an introvert and you happen to be an extrovert, oh God bless you. Because I'm an introvert. And I'm gonna tell you something. Personally, I get anxiety if somebody looks at me and said, my friend's coming over today. Did you talk to me? Before you brought these invaders into the house? Did you talk to me? Because that's not okay. And the worst part, now I'm just this is just me talking. I'm gonna get back into the notes. The worst part, I'm gonna tell you this will bless your whole wild life. The worst part to my brothers, think about this. Imagine bringing some friends home to an introverted wife, and she got PMS and you didn't know it. You didn't know she was an introvert. You didn't know how introverts responded. You brought some guys home to an introverted wife who has PMS and social anxiety. And you wonder why it's turned into a big old hell-raising fight? You wonder why Satan shows up in your living room playing dominoes with y'all? You wonder why the smoke from the cigarettes and the cigars start taking over the house and you can see Satan dancing in the smoke? It's because you got it's too many dynamics going on at one time. It's too many dynamics. And I'm telling you right now, if you start understanding all of those dynamics, the code word is respect. Every relationship, the code word is respect. If you say, well, you know what? Hey, let me reach out. And this is just me. Let me reach out to my wife. Let me see if this is a good time. Hey, babe, the guys want to come over, watch a game, what have you. What say you? Babe, I don't feel good. All right, say no more. Say no more. Because if she's introverted, she hadn't cleaned up the house because she ain't feeling too good, and she got PMS, and you bring people up in that house making all that noise, or what we call in Mississippi, making all that racket, bro, you're gonna be dry for the next 2 weeks. You ain't gotta worry about nothing. You gonna be fighting for the next. You ain't got to worry about nothing. Because right then and there, what little energy she had left, you brought people in, allowed them to zap it, and you wonder why she get up there and get dressed and go over to her friend girl's house or what have you. Okay, so I would think we were at number two. A baby to a carnal man is a symbol of conquering. It's a flag, pheromones with legs, and extended access to the mother. It's just a person when a guy looks at you, to the ladies and to the guys. If a woman grabs you and says, "Get me pregnant, get me pregnant," in that moment, it's just fantasy. For women, most of the time, it's just fantasy. But for the guys, it's extended access. It can be fantasy as well. When you're caught up in the moment, it just sounds like fun. It just sounds like a fun idea, right? Number three, 70% of straight couples, and this is something I got off of to dateforlove.com, and that's the number two, date the number four love.com, 23 relationship breakup statistics to help you move on. The statistic is 70% of straight couples break up in the first year of their relationship. I'm saying this because for y'all out there that's screwing in the first year. For those of you out there in your first year, you over there talking about making me pregnant. 70% of straight couples break up in the first year of their relationship. 70%. That's not 50%. That's the majority of couples. They break up in the first year of their relationship. So while you grabbing him by the collar talking about give me your kid, you're caught up in the moment. Y'all hear me when I say this. Don't let those temporary moments ruin your life forever. Don't let those temporary, when you in that moment, if you in a heated moment with a guy and you think you in love, he think he in love. Yes, you can get so caught up in your feelings that you're like, I don't care, get me pregnant. He like, I'm about to get you pregnant. And y'all over there happy as all outdoors until you start vomiting, until you start dealing with those signs of pregnancy, and he comes to realize that, hey, she ain't gonna be grabbing a hold of me like that no more. Like not for the next 9 months. I mean, y'all gonna be having sex. Let's just say you're married. But at the end of the day, a lot of that stuff, like her emotions are gonna fluctuate, right? Because she's pregnant. So don't get caught up in the moment. Don't end up having a kid in a moment because in that moment it feels like the right thing. But 2 years later in child support court and a restraining order later, you realize it wasn't a good idea. You realize it wasn't a good idea. Your Honor, I need an extension on the restraining order. Why? Because he keep calling me and he's been threatening me. He keep threatening to harm me. He found out I started talking to another guy, and now he's threatening to harm me. Me and him been broke up since I was 7 months pregnant. Some of y'all can relate. Because in that moment, and see, this is the thing that you want to do is you want to look at your history. Look at your history. Look at your history. Look at those moments in history when you stood in front of a dude or to the guys you stood in front of a female and y'all made all those plans. Now look how they ended up. History repeats itself. In my 40 years of living, ain't no man ever trapped me with a baby. I almost got trapped. I almost did. I almost did. I almost did. But yeah, everybody around me, pretty much everybody around me, are locked and loaded with kids, what have you, and they have to deal with the baby father. The baby father got to deal with them because all of them ain't necessarily right. But 70% of straight couples break up in the first year of their relationship. That comes from 2dateforlove.com. 23 relationship breakup statistics to help you move on. Number four, most people have relational patterns that you need to be aware of. We talked about this in the earlier part. Everybody has relational patterns. And that's why I tell women, y'all, can I get rated PG 13, little R, little X? That's why I tell women, when I was in the world, my friends were a little bit older than me, and they used to they nicknamed me Mama because they said I acted like I was their mama, or what have you at times. Now I was doing I was doing reckless stuff with them, but I don't think I was as reckless in many cases as them. Number one, number two, I was a realist. I always, try to keep it real with myself and try to keep it real with them. So if we're sitting around having girl talk, talking about guys, and they start talking about having sex with a guy and how, oh girl, he screamed, girl, he sound. Girl, he screamed. He sound like a pig with his leg getting twisted. Yeah, girl, I ain't never heard nobody snorkel and scream at the same time. And for them, they would interpret that as I did something in the bedroom that now he's sprung. Like I did something in the bedroom that he ain't never experienced before. Girl, he started convulsing and all of that. Like, one, that's probably a demon. But two, it's but no, I used to tell them that's probably how he responds to sex. It's not you. That's just how he responds. You weren't in the bedroom when he slept with his ex-girlfriend. You weren't in the bedroom when he slept with any of the women or any person he slept with. Snorkeling, I'm telling you, you weren't in the bedroom, so you don't know that. Because women have a tendency to get flattered when they hear a man screaming, just like men get flattered when they hear women screaming, and half of the time women be faking. But women have a tendency to get flattered when they hear a man making sounds and all that other stuff. And I used to tell them, which is why they call me mama. I used to tell them, well, he probably that's probably he's a squealer. You know, that's just him. He just squeals, right? He just that's how he responds. That's how he responds to stimuli. You know, he's just one of those guys that makes a lot of noise. That doesn't mean that you did something special. That doesn't mean that he's now going to be playing Jodeci and sitting. He's going to sit in his car, park his car, go sit in the back seat, put Jodeci on, lay down and look at the sunset, or just go get on the roof of the car and look at the sunset and play Jodeci. You got me feeling. And they end up dumped. I'm like, okay, wait. You thought it was so good. If it was that good, why he dump you? I have seen women post up. I can't say, a family member of mine post up one time. This was many years ago. Post up a picture of her and her. What should I say? Post up a picture of her in brine panties, in her brine panties. I didn't respond to the post. I'm scrolling social media and I see brine panties and her standing in front of a mirror, and then background dirty as heck. I'm just, dang, it's embarrassing. And she made a comment on her post, and I wanted to respond, and I knew not to. Because I don't have a relationship with her where I could do that. But I wanted to respond because she posted up that she said something. She said that Buckner is the best, referring to the yeah, the of a woman, the BJ. All right, y'all twisting my arm, but referring to, and I'm like, literally, I wanted to respond, but aren't you a single mother? Don't you have several? If it's that good, why they leave? I I have to keep it real to keep y'all. This how y'all get free. Prayerfully, she free. That was a long, long, long time ago. But I was sitting there just like, I'm not one of those people that walk around and be like, yeah, I was with that dude, girl. I put it on him. Yes, indeed. That man will never forget me. Listen, if he left, he forgot you. Or if he remembered you, what? I want to say it because I love y'all. I don't want to say it because then y'all, realistically speaking, you want to keep it real. Realistically speaking, sex is not about performance. I'm sorry, it's just not. It's not about uh the positions and all of the positions and how you know how to do this and how you know how to do that. That's just stuff people learn when love isn't involved. True love, just the presence of that person alone is going to be it's heightening up. True love, and I'm not talking about this world version of love. I'm not talking about this love that y'all, the lust that y'all get into for and have kids, and then you get dumped, and then he move on to another woman, and then he feel the same rainbow feelings toward another woman, and now he got a kid with her, and then the next thing you know, he over here with another woman, and now the next thing you over here, he got a dude bent over. I'm not talking about that stuff. Actual, true, godly love done the right way, just the presence of it's not about the big O. It's not about that, because it's so much more. Your connection is so much more deeper than that. That's just one of the bonuses. But that type of love makes you linger, and I don't want to go there because I know some of y'all still struggling. But that type of love makes you linger. Now, when I say linger, I'm talking about it makes you you're in the bedroom lingering with that person. That type of love makes you linger. It makes you sit in the bedroom and it makes you linger beyond the big O. It makes you linger before the big O. It makes you linger. You're just there enjoying each other's presence. As a matter of fact, the big O is not the big event. Okay. You can get caught up in in those type of relationships where he looking at you and and he breathing all hard and doing all that. Then y'all, when it's done, he laid out next to you. He sleep. Just laid out, leg cocked over, about to fall out the bed, thing glued to his leg. You can get caught up in that. But that's not a representation of love. He could have did that with a prostitute. Love makes you linger. Love makes you linger. There is something that's far greater that most people will never get to experience because they keep God out of their relationship. God is love. So God is a soul tie. The Bible tells us that God is love. That feeling, love is not a feeling. God is love. When somebody says, I love you, what they're saying is, I have God's heart for you. If they don't have God's heart, they can't have God's heart for you. You've heard me say that before. God is love. That's what connects the two of you. That is true love. When God connects you, when you can love beyond flaws, the word agape means unconditional. When you can love beyond flaws, when you can look at that person and say, you get on my nerves, but you know what? I love you. I won't disrespect you and I won't leave. I love you. But you know something? I ain't gonna lie to you right now. I'm gonna need you to go somewhere else. Because can we normalize in-house restraining orders? Okay. Let me get back to my notes. In-house restraining orders. Your house got to become a whole law. Hey, listen, I just need you to stay 100 feet. Go to the basement. Leave me alone right now, okay? Because you got on my nerves. I love you, but I just need you to go down there and just kind of stay away from me right now. Please and thank you. Please and thank you. I need a little personal restraining order just for right now. God is love. God is love. And because God is love, that's the connection that keeps people together. Because why? How can God keep people together? Because love never fails. You know why love never fails? Because God can't fail. The stuff that we're out here doing and getting with people, that stuff, this is American culture. Lust is American culture. Obsession is American culture. You know how easy it is to make somebody fall in love with you or fall under a spell? You know how easy it is to get people to get butterflies in their stomach? That is not love. That's not actual love. That stuff can be erased with an orgasm. Wipe that smile clean off his face. That stuff can be erased. What is long standing, what is going to be eternal, or what's going to be lifelong is when you have God and you get to know the person and see that you're compatible. That's what's important. Because just because a person is Christian don't mean y'all compatible. All right, let me get back in here. Number 4 was most people have relational patterns. People have patterns that you need to be aware of. How long is your longest relationship? 3 years. Okay, that's the longest relationship. How many relationships have you had in the last couple of years? I've had this. That's a relational pattern. That's a stronghold. That means that that person has a habit. They have, in the beginning, they're attentive. They want all of your attention. In the beginning, they're there. They present themselves. They're just like, I don't want to be without you. But at some point in the relationship, they're looking like, can I get a break from you? Can I get a break? Can I get over here? That's a pattern of theirs. They have a pattern of starting relationships one way and ending another because they give you what you want in the beginning to suck you in. Once you get sucked in, they start giving themselves what they want. It's not just men, it's women as well. These are relational patterns. So you want to make sure that you're aware of people's relational patterns. Again, I don't have this in note, but you want to make sure that you're aware of their wiring. You want to make sure you're aware of a person's wiring. And this is the last one for this one. Married men, this is number 5. Married men and married women live on average 2 years longer than their unmarried counterparts. That comes from Fortune magazine. I shall read that again because I know I sped right through it. Married men and married women. I got something for y'all. I'm sorry. I gotta say this. But well, let me just get this back. Married men and married women live on average 2 years longer than their unmarried counterparts. So for those of you who are thoughting it out, for those of you who are going out here and you're doing things outside of God's will, you're shortening your lifespan. The Bible tells us that the wages of sin is death. You're shortening your lifespan. You're shortening your lifespan. Now, there was another statistic I came across. I remember seeing that. I know some feminists is lurking somewhere on my thing, saying there's a statistic that show. I don't know if I should say this. Y'all gonna love me if I tell the truth? Y'all gonna love me? I don't know if this is true, but I did actually see it. I did actually see it. I didn't read the article. That women live less. That women live less. They shorten their lives um, in marriage. I don't know if that's true, so do your own research. But I have my belief around that. Men tend to live longer, women live long. And I saw that. I was like, y'all taking our lives out here in these streets. But no, I have my theory around that. I don't necessarily believe that's the entirety. I think that that's because most women marry the wrong person. If you marry somebody that sucks the life out of you, if you marry somebody that don't love themselves, if you marry somebody who's not surrendered to Christ, yes, they will kill you slowly. They will kill you slowly. Okay. I'm going to give you 5 phases of romantics. Remember, we're talking about the science. Right. And I think that's because of culture, the cheating and all that. It's a lot of stuff that goes into that. If you get in a relationship with somebody that's not surrendered to God, somebody who hasn't crucified their flesh, they're going to crucify you. You're going to go through some stuff. All right, 5 phases of romantics. And again, we're talking about this from a scientific standpoint. And we're going to be talking about the 5 T's, the 5 T's of romantic. 5 phases of romantics or the 5 T's of romantic. And these are the 5 stages. Number 1, talking. Talking. You can put in parentheses love bombing. This is the beginning. Is when you're talking on the phone and you're pretty much just flirting. You're just love bombing. You're love bombing each other. That's the first phase. That's the first phase. The problem, the mistake that we make in that phase is that most of the time we're just too busy flattering the other person and talking about what we want in life. I want to have 3 kids. You want 3 kids? Yeah. Yeah. And he said, all right. And that makes you feel all flattered again. Oh, because he said, all right. So he just agreed to give me 3 kids. Then there's that little pause on the phone, that little awkward quietness. Because now y'all both thinking about it. And what you're doing is you're causing that dopamine to flow because you just told him you want 3 kids. And he said, all right. And he said it in his little real low voice, that bedroom voice, even though you ain't been in the bedroom with him yet. He said it in that low voice. So now you're like, he talking about giving me 3 kids. Girl, please. The talking, this is during this time, this is during this phase where most of us are just, we're saying what we want to. So what do you want in a woman? Just honesty. My ex, she was disrespectful, I had to shut her down. And you just ignore all of that. You ignore, wait, stop. Wait, shut her down how? What did you do to shut her down? I mean, I'm just saying, I just stand up to her. Brother, was she punking you? Because when you say stand up, you good? Was she punking you? But you ignore the red flags because you look for those words that make your dopamine levels go through the roof. Tell me if I'm lying. You look for those things that make your dopamine go through the roof because most of you are dopamine heads. You look for those words. He said, nah. He sweep right past and nah, we just didn't work because she was disrespectful. Well, can you give me an example of what she did that you consider to be disrespectful? Because he may be telling you right then and there that he's a narcissist. And you don't hear that. Because in that moment, all you hear is him saying she was disrespectful. Okay, can you give me an example? Hey, listen. I'm with you, bro. I don't like that disrespectful stuff. So tell me, what she do? Because I got a story for you too. Tell me what she did. What she did? How was she disrespectful? Man, I don't want to get into that. No. Tell me how she was disrespectful. So right that one day I took her over to my mom's house, right? And my family, they were cooking, we were having to get together. And I asked her, I said, hey, babe, run out to the car and get me my tennis shoes. Because I had my we came from church and all that. I had my church shoes on. Go to my and she said, no. Why don't you go get them? You're closer to the door. My leg hurts. Okay. So yeah, I had to let her go. I'm still waiting on the disrespectful part. I'm still waiting where show me where she disrespected you. I'm still waiting on that part. That's what I'm saying. Forget all the other stuff. I'm still waiting on that part. Now I'm saying made me look bad. Oh, so you got a big ego. Not only do you got a big ego, but you like to try to make yourself look good in front of your family. Your girl over there telling you that she limping. She her leg hurt. And you over here talking about go to the car and she tells you, hey, my leg hurts. Rather than saying, oh no, I forgot, I'm sorry, I'll go get it. Or getting one of your nephews to get it. You sat there and felt disrespected. So talking, this during the phase where you let people talk, right? You let people talk. They tell you who they are, what they are, all that. Talking phase. And during the talking phase, one of the things y'all got to get delivered from is stop putting labels on people. Oh, God. These allergies, y'all. Stop calling that man your boo. And to the guy, stop, baby, stop doing it. Don't do that. Those words accelerate soul ties. Y'all know that, right? If I talk to a guy and he starts calling me baby, that accelerates the soul tie. That's not good. Stop letting people put labels on you. You know, you're my girl. You're gonna be my wife. You don't know that? The reason y'all don't say nothing is because y'all like that feeling. I told you your dopamine heads. You had to go to rehab. You keep letting people put labels on you and you keep believing those labels. And the next thing you know, you get yourself in a relationship with that person because you're moving far too fast. You gotta listen. The objective isn't to when you meet a person, the objective isn't to get to know them so y'all can have a long-standing relationship, potentially get married and have lots of babies and plenty of sex. That's not the objective. The objective, and this is just 40-year-old wisdom, over 40-year-old wisdom, is to find where that person fits in your life or if they fit in your life. Because that might just be my brother in Christ. That could be just your sister in Christ. That's the objective, is to find where the person fit, not to assume where they fit. That's why y'all be losing your mind at the end of a relationship, because then you start finding out it ain't working out the way you fantasize. You think you're in love, but you're in love with a fantasy. So the 5 T's of romantic, or the 5 phases of romantic talking, this is during the phase where y'all are just opening up. And the big mistake that everybody makes during that phase is nobody's talking about, tell me about you. Like, do you wrestle with, like, you watch porn? You're not asking those questions. You're just, so how many kids you want? You're already in planning phase. How many kids you want? Then you glide past all the signs that the dude deal with sex issues. He like, how many kids you want me to put in you? Why you say it like that? Why you say it like that? Because you know I'm fertile. He go to talking like that, he probably playing with himself. You on the phone, he got this out. That's why he breathing high. He ain't snoring. He ain't snoring, he playing with himself. He ain't snoring, he playing with himself. You sitting because you start talking about kids, he start thinking about what it takes to make kids. Pay attention to the words he uses. He ain't saying, he didn't say, you start talking about kids, he like, how many times you want me to get you pregnant? Why you say it like that? Why? I said kids. Just say, I want to have 2 kids. I want to have 3 kids. No, he's talking about how many times you want me to, how many you want me to put in you? How you really want to put in you? I don't mean to slip this in, but you know, I find that women kind of get pregnant by me when I do my little move. Your dude is a pervert. Your dude watch porn. Your dude play with himself. He has no self-control. I'm telling you, I'm helping you out. I'll save you from coming downstairs 3 years into your relationship with a big belly. He downstairs watching porn, playing with himself, and you confused as heck. Like you got a whole woman, you got a whole wife upstairs, and you downstairs in your drawers. And why is there a hole in the front of your drawers? You downstairs. Okay. 5 phases of romantic talking. Number 2, touching. Touching. And you can put in parentheses seduction. During this phase is when you're outside of talking, you start dating, and now you're putting your hands on a person. And this is usually what leads up to the sex, your little sexual thing that you guys end up doing. Because it's usually, the shoving, the playing, the trying to accidentally touch each other. Trying to accidentally touch each other is when he tries to walk close and have his hand kind of dangling by your hand or what have you. And that's why you have to put your hands up like this. Arrest yourself. You got to put your hands up because he's gonna try to grab that hand. That touching prematurely accelerates soul ties, and it opens you up for lust. I don't know who needs to hear that. It opens you up for lust, and it accelerates the soul tie. Right, those long, close hugs, not the church hug, but I'm talking about the hug where he grabbed you, bring you all the way in, and you smell that cologne, and he got your head going in his chest. You like, Jesus, what is Jesus, Mary and JoJo? Touching. How did I do that? Okay. Touching. And you can put seduction. That's when you start seducing, or that's when he starts seducing you, and you start seducing him. Touching. This is the time when y'all are just sitting up there. That's what's going to lead to kissing and stuff like that. And typically, once you start kissing, you're a goner. I'm sorry. Once you start kissing, you're a goner. Because I tell people this all the time, and I'm gonna say this, y'all heard me say it before. What's the point of kissing? There's no sense in heating up the oven if you don't plan to put anything in it. And you got to understand that you are a challenge to some guys. They are determined. They don't care about your abstinence. They don't care about you claiming to be abstinent, to be abstaining from sex. They don't care about none of that. They know if I can get you along, especially if you're willing to kiss me, if I can get you along, I'll have you to do one of your stunts. You know those stunts women do? I can't believe this happened. This is the first time that's ever happened. She lying. I can't believe it's just so fast. I hope you don't think I'm a because you didn't use wisdom. You went into his house, or you let him in your house, and you over here putting your mouth all over this dude. What is okay? I'm gonna move on. This is one of those late nights. This is Wednesday, so I can talk like this. Just a quick question. What is y'all? Can somebody tell me what kissing is? What is kissing? Well, I'll address these allergies. What is kissing? Thank you. Foreplay. There we go. There we go. It's foreplay. Why am I kissing somebody I'm not going to have sex with? Why am I kissing somebody? Why am I going to kiss him? Get myself all riled up and fired up, get him fired up. Then we going to stop. And I say, we got to stop that. Because half of the time when y'all doing that, that's manipulation. Is you trying to manipulate him into marrying you? Is you trying to say, okay, now that you've experienced your trial, would you like to buy? Put a ring on his finger. Most of the time somebody tell me if I'm wrong. Most of the time when you didn't plan on having sex with a dude, it happened. You really genuinely didn't plan on having sex with him, but it happened because you started kissing him. Am I wrong? I'm only saying this to the women because men rarely ever plan not to have sex. Right? You can catch a cold or herpes, or you could be tonguing down somebody that just got through. I live in Georgia. Why you gonna be sitting here? Why am I kissing on this guy? And then we breathe. I'm trying not to go there, but I'm trying not to go there. But one thing I think it is it needs to be said. And like I said, share this with your teens. Please, if you got teenage daughters and teenage sons, please educate them about sex. One of the most common types of events that can be construed as rape, but is not always construed as rape because most of the time there's a lot of confusion there. It starts with kissing. I remember telling this to an old friend girl of mine. Her teenage daughter, had gotten pregnant, and she was so hurt that her daughter had gotten pregnant. She was upset, and she was talking. We were walking one day, and she was telling me about how mad she was with her daughter, and her daughter was like that wasn't planned or something. It was something, but her daughter was trying to say something to her, and I stopped her. I said, "Let me, you need to talk to your daughter. You want to make sure that this was something like compliance." So I told her, I said, one of the most common types of, sexual assaults that's not always construed as a sexual assault because it's not always violent. It usually takes place, and I don't want to give you a visual, but I got to make sure because I want you to educate your children. It usually takes place when a girl is kissing on a guy and maybe she wears a skirt or a dress, and they kissing and they go to kissing, and next thing you know, the kissing leads to him. Like they at a friend's house and him mounting her on the couch. She may say stop, no, and he said no, I'm just kissing, what have you. Then she allows that to happen, and she just sitting there kissing on this guy. They laying on the couch with her skirt on. Next thing you know, she feel her undies moving, and she tries to stop him, but and he does what he does. It lasts what about a minute or so, and then he stops and says, "Okay, out of respect for you." But no, he finished. I remember telling that to a friend girl, and only for her to tell me that had just happened to her. Literally, somebody had just did that to her. She was a grown woman in her 30s. Somebody just did that to her. I told her that is one of the most common sexual assaults out there that most people are unaware of, and the woman gets up confused because she doesn't know for her that I didn't ask for this. I didn't welcome this. I was just kissing this guy. And next thing you know, he's doing that. Next thing you know, I feel that, and then he starts doing that. And I'm trying to tell him to stop, and then he stopped, and he said, okay. But he stopped because he was finished. And so I tell people that one of the things that's very common. That is, when I say that's one of the most common ways, that's one of the most common things. You want to make sure that you educate your daughters about that so that they know. If you're walking around, one, you want to try to keep kissing off the table. I don't believe in kissing before marriage. That's just me. But you want to keep kissing off the table. But two, you want to make sure your daughters know. Like, let's say, for example, because I know that that's a rarity. You want to make sure that they know that if they are kissing, try not to wear a skirt around your guy. Try not to kiss him while wearing a skirt, and definitely don't let him mount you. I don't care how many times you sit there. He like, no, 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 no. I'm just mounting you. No, it's a progress. It's a progression where he's gonna mount you. Then that moves into subtle grinding, and then after that, it's going to be a quick insertion, and that's it. That's it. That's it. Because by the time he does that, he's already halfway done, or pretty much done. Once he does that, it's going to be over with just like that. It's going to be over with like within a minute or so. And then he's going to stop and say, okay. Because she's saying no. He'll stop and say, okay, I'm sorry. But he finished. He finished. So you want to make sure that you're educating your teens. And for those of you that don't like having those discussions with your teens, please get over yourself. It ain't about you. You want to make sure that you're educating your kids. Otherwise, you may end up becoming a grandparent and your kid was raped and we're walking around with trauma and you don't even realize it and then they don't know that they were assaulted. They're walking around blaming themselves. They're walking around blaming themselves. What have you? That is a common form of sexual assault. All right, number three. Number two was touching. This is when you keep on putting your hands on each other. You keep touching. You keep, you're kissing on each other and stuff like that. That's what's going to lead to the sex. That's number three, testing. Testing. And that's when you're wanting to see. These are the 5 stages or the 5 phases of romantics. Testing. This is when you're going to want to see. This is when you're going to want to experience the person. Testing. This is usually when you find yourself having sex with the person. And these are illegal stages, might I add. Testing. This you can put in there fruit, you put in parentheses fruit, and you can also put in there rebellion. Testing. That number 3, testing, is usually when you start trying to, maybe you want to move in with the person, maybe you start trying to do more things with the person or what have you. You start acting like his wife, or you start acting like her husband. You start trying to test those roles out in a person's life, and both of y'all are still high as a kite at that time. And the reason I'm talking about that, we were talking about Nick Cannon. That's how those kids come about, because he goes through those phases with women. And when he goes through those phases with women, now he's leaving a bunch of children behind to be, to be raised by the mother alone. And even though he may be a present father in their life, they're still a single parent household, which is not healthy. Testing. Number 4, tarrying. You put in parentheses the relationship. During the relationship, once you get to the tarrying phase, this is the time where y'all start allowing the adrenaline, the concept of in love, to kind of fade, and you allow each other's patterns to come out. So you allow him to, you find out that he has diarrhea every Sunday after church, because after church, he always feels the need to stop by this restaurant, and they got some enchiladas there that he happens to love, and he just feels the need to go there every Sunday. So every Sunday he has explosive diarrhea. Plus, he don't want to watch the game. So the house stink, the TV's loud. It's not fun to be home on Sundays. It's not fun. So you start learning on Sunday, hey, let me take him home, drop him off, or what have you. I'm gonna drop him off. I don't want to be in the house with him on Sundays, because as soon as you see him, stop it. Here we start. You coming by this enchilada stand again? Yeah. We just hired a plumber. That's the relationship. This is typically when people start to fall apart, because at this time you're starting to do what you were supposed to do in the first part without the sex. You're starting to get to know each other during a relationship. That's when you find out every time she gets PMS, she rips y'all pictures apart. Every time she gets PMS, she takes her ring off. She starts talking about breaking up, or let's say y'all not married, but she starts talking about breaking up. Tarrying. This is the time when you start genuinely learning about the person. This is when you start learning whether or not you can live with the person. But the problem is, y'all have already had sex. The problem is, you probably already got kids. But now you're just starting to go through the length of the relationship. You're getting the reality check. You're getting the revelation that you could have got in a conversation. You could have got that in a conversation had you turned the key sweat off. You could have got that in a conversation if you had to take kissing off the table. You could have got that in a conversation if you weren't on the couch doing what you were doing. You could have got that in a conversation, but you rushed it. Why? Because you're addicted to that feeling. You're addicted to that feeling, the tarrying. This is phase 4. The relationship. This is when y'all start arguing. And this is when you start pointing out their patterns. This is when you start pointing out. You always do that. Isn't that what arguments sound like? You always do that every time, every freaking Sunday. You got to stop by this stand and get them enchiladas every Sunday. It's always you. And then you end up with explosive diarrhea. You always tear up the downstairs bathroom. And because it can't flush, you go upstairs and you stink up the upstairs bathroom. You do that every Sunday. Then you turn around and lie. You lie. And you don't think I saw you last night? You don't think you didn't come to bed talking about you up doing this? You don't think I knew what you were doing last night? Dude, listen, we got cameras in the house. We got cameras in the living room. So you cut the camera on. I sure did. And I saw what you had on the screen. I sure hope you had a good time. And matter of fact, I recorded you. I recorded you. I hope you had a good time. Fell asleep in a computer chair after knocking yourself out. What kind of crazy stuff is that? And played with yourself. You got a whole woman upstairs down there playing with yourself, watching porn. Nasty. All of that stuff you could have discovered while you were getting to know him. And you would have known, hey, that's not him. That's not for me. But no, you were running around. You were addicted to the feeling. So you ignored all of that. And so next thing you know, you had your tongue down his throat. Y'all talking about kids. He got you pregnant and all that. And you call yourself in love, but you're in love with your idea of him. Or you're in love with your idea of her. Then you start living with the person. You start getting the stuff that you should have gotten in the conversation. You start learning. You get them mad. Next thing you know, you got holes in your wall. Oh, crap. It's a violent one. He don't know how to deal with his anger. He done punched a hole in the wall. Then looked at you. Next time, he's going to be your head. Now you up in there listening to Mary J. Blige. Not going to cry no more. Is that Mary J? Not going to cry no more. You listening to women empowerment music, trying to cheer yourself up, seeing yourself as a victim, only to go out there and repeat that same old pattern with another man or another woman to the guys. Taryn, this is the time when you get everything you should have got. You could have got, and you could have got it in the beginning. You could have got it just like that. And lastly, last stage of romantics, number 5, the turning. The turning. This is repentance. And another word you can say for this, you put in parentheses, breakup. You know what a breakup is? A breakup is the moment you get the revelation that you should have gotten the first conversation or the first few conversations. This is when you come to the conclusion that God already came to before you even entertain that person. The turning. That's romantic. Now, getting into this, because I want to let y'all go. Getting into this, the whole concept of a man wanting to get you pregnant, right? Getting into like a whole Nick Cannon running out here getting all these women pregnant, what have you. You have to understand that men are territorial creatures. Most men, if they don't get their healing and their deliverance, they still watch or monitor their exes. I can pull up, I ain't gonna do it. I can pull up my social media. They still monitor their exes. You have to understand that whenever you're talking to, and this is to my sisters, when you're talking to someone of the male persuasion, you have to understand a man is not a woman. A man doesn't think like a woman. A man doesn't reason like a woman. They're not emotional. They're logical. Women are emotional. We like to get caught up in the fairy tales and all that other stuff. That's why we had we played with Snow White. They had all of that stuff because we like to get caught up in, and notice that a lot of that stuff had witchcraft in it, because it is witchcraft. A lot of those shows we used to like to watch as a kid, Snow White and the Snow White and the Seven Doors and Cinderella, all of it, because it's witchcraft. It's all centered around witchcraft. We like to get caught up in that, but men are more logical. A man can look at you and make it up in his mind. I can't see me spending my life with her, but I would like to knock her down. I would like to knock her down. I want to see what she can do. Or he can make it up in his mind. Let's see what happens. And if a man says that in his heart, let's see what happens, you're a goner, because right then and there, he's just basically saying, I'll go with the flow. But the problem is going with the flow, there's no love in that. See, with God, he says, walk by faith and not by sight. When God took Abraham on this journey, Abraham was literally walking by faith because God told him, go to the place where I'm going to show you. And Abraham had to go through hell. Abraham had to go through all these different lands and territories, all these different things. He had to go through so much. And the end game wasn't Isaac or Ishmael. The end game was just him following God, him growing the heart of God within him. So if you get yourself into a relationship and somebody looks at you and says, let's see what happens, that person doesn't know where he's going. And the husband is supposed to be the head of the home. He doesn't know where he's going. He's just saying, let's just go. Now, let me just say this, because I want to be clear. I want to make sure that I'm clear on this. You don't know where you're gonna go. If you get on the phone and you start entertaining somebody of the opposite sex or what have you, and y'all trying to build a potential relationship, you don't know where you're going. I'm not talking about that, because you can't assume that this is going to end at the altar, but there has to be intention on both of you part. That means that he has to know I'm a husband and I'm looking for my wife. You have to know I'm a wife waiting for my husband. There has to be that intention. And at the same time, you can come to the conclusion that that's not my husband. He can come to the conclusion that that's my wife, not my wife, but then you can still move away from that amicably. And you have to understand, you're not looking for the feeling. Stop looking for that feeling, because the feeling will make you jump yourself into the relationship. The feeling will make you get yourself pregnant out here in these streets. The feeling will make you go out here and make a lot of bad mistakes and a bunch of bad moves. And those feeling moves and those feelings will land you in divorce court. Those feelings will land you in child support court. Those feelings will land you in criminal court. Because you're trying to get a feeling. Because you're trying to fix a God-sized void in your heart. Because you're looking for somebody to come in and be your hero. That's not a good thing. I said this on the last one. I'll say it on here. It's a dangerous thing to look for a hero in a relationship. You saved me from myself. That's dangerous. How do I know that? Because I've been some men's heroes. And you know something? The hero got to take off their cape sometime. The hero going to take off the wig. They're going to sit down. All of that. And the hero's going to offend. The hero's going to disappoint. And if a person isn't healed, when you're going to go from being a hero to a villain. And when you go from being a hero to a villain, they're going to look for another hero. They're going to need rescuing from you. Even if it's Strawberry at the strip club that rescues them, they're going to look for that, because they are not made whole in Christ. The objective isn't for you to go and get a man and show him, I can love you more than you've ever been loved before. I would never cheat on you. I would never do this. I would never. Now, all that stuff is cute and grand and dandy. But hear me when I tell you that it is still not enough if a man has not surrendered himself to Christ. Same thing for the guys. You can get a woman, you can love her, you can be faithful to her, you can be a great provider, you can be a great husband, a great protector, you can be all those beautiful things. But it's not enough if she has a void. It's not enough. It's not enough if she has a God-sized hole in her heart, because you will find yourself repeatedly having to speak to that void, and it's not going to be enough. It's not enough. Right? Hero chasing. And most people do that. A lot of people on here right now, you can sit back and say, listen, your father wasn't there. You want a protector. Sorry. Let's just keep it real. You want a protector. You want somebody that's going to be protective of you. That's normal. If you got childhood trauma, that's normal for you to fall in love or under the spell, because falling in love is not a real concept. I've told y'all that before. But you can fall under the spell or the seduction of a man that comes in and says, don't nobody, and I don't play about you. I don't play about you. He seems to be protective. That's sexy. You know why? Because you never had that. But it doesn't mean he's a good man. It doesn't mean he's gonna protect you. I talked about this one guy when I was in the world. That he used to be at my cousin's house all the time. I used to go to my cousin's house. My cousin's a man. And I used to go to my cousin's house all the time, because me and my cousin, we were, best friends. We were close friends, what have you. And we grew up, we always been close. And he used to date a friend of mine. So I used to take her over there with me and what have you. He had this one guy that would be at the house all the time. And I didn't have a protective father. I didn't have a protective mother. They did their best with what they knew, but they weren't that protective. And there was this one guy that was over there, had a huge crush on me. But I'm over my cousin's house. Cool. And my cousin's pretty much like alpha male, which means that he running his house, even though there are other dudes up in there. They knew that's my cousin. Don't, so they didn't come at me wrong. But he made it clear, hey, I like her. Oh, what happened? Dude walked through the house. I remember being over there, and I took my friend girl over there because she just kept wanting to go over there. I took her over there, and the guys were in the front. They in there playing cards, dominoes, drinking, whatever. And of course, again, I was in the world, and I found myself. I went into my cousin's room. I went into his bedroom. because I didn't want to smell all that smoke at that particular time. I never been diagnosed, but I believe I had bronchitis. At that particular time, I used to have these long coughing spells where I would just be coughing up phlegm, and it would be like 30 minutes to an hour long just coughing back to back. And so when I would go over there, sometimes I would end up getting caught up in one of those after I smelled the smoke or what have you. So I go into my cousin's room, chill up in his room. And my friend girl would come up in there with me or what have you while the guys were in the front. My cousin would kind of navigate. And this guy that was over there, the guy was a boxer. I remember that about him because I remember that he was tall, he was handsome, but whenever he opened his mouth, he didn't talk that fast. He was like, "How you doing? Listen, man, I'm telling you, I'm feeling you. You know what I'm saying?" He talked like that, like almost slurred. And I remember he was super protective of me, even though he didn't know me. My cousin was already protective of me, but this guy took on the role to be protective. So whenever I came over there, if the guys were smoking, he literally, now you gotta imagine, it's a house full of thugged out dudes, right? He literally would walk up to every last one of them, snatching their cigarettes out their mouth. Give me that cigarette, man. That girl up in there, and give me that. I'm like, oh no, no, it's fine. He's like, no, no, they gotta show some respect up in here. And they was scared of him. They would they wouldn't do it. He would just snatch their stuff and smash it. And you know something? Even though even though I didn't have any real attraction to him, I don't know what it was, but I didn't have an attraction. I thought he was handsome, but I didn't like it wasn't the type of I think this gonna be somebody I want to be with type handsome. It was just more so okay, cute. And then I went on back. I still found that attractive. No, I never got with him, never exchanged my phone numbers with him or anything like that. I still found that attractive. Why? Because I didn't have that protective family. So I'm saying that to say you have to be careful because sometimes somebody can be something nobody has ever been to you and you're attracted to that. Paint the story and picture. Listen. You're attracted to that. Sometimes you could be attracted to if your parents weren't providers and a man comes along and he says, Here, here's $200. Go get your hair done. Thank you. That's attractive because you never had that. So I'm saying don't get that construed or don't get that twisted to mean that this is the right person for you. Don't get that. This is why I tell you go deal with all those voids so nobody can come in and flatter you by playing inside of your void. Awesome. South Korea, God bless you. Because some of y'all, I'm sorry, y'all, you're flattered too easy. You give it up over a chicken sandwich. It's ghetto out here. You sitting up here, somebody turn around and you look at your account and all you got is $7.99 left. And the dude will take you and get you a nice little chicken sandwich. And he turn around and get your order large. And you feel like you gotta some of y'all got children, you should have named chicken sandwich. Your child is a result of a chicken sandwich. Come on, tell the truth. Your child is a result of a chicken sandwich. Dude didn't even have the audacity to go get a hotel. He took you to the back seat. When he took you over his boy's house, took you in his mama's basement, took you to a wooded area, took you somewhere, or took you to a roach motel. And he took you to a hotel, you pay by the hour. All because he bought you a chicken sandwich and he got it large. Then he stopped and got you ice cream along the way. That is a childhood void. After eating all that food, you're like, I'm stuffed. He's like, no, we're gonna stop and get some ice cream. Ice cream? Yeah, we're gonna stop and get some ice cream. Now you're in there like a little kid. Yeah, I don't like the way that man looking at you. Oh, he provided and he protected. You just flattered too easily. You flattered too easily. I ain't flattered unless you drop 2 million on me. I'm sorry. I'm saying do for you what you want others to do for you. Deal with your voids. That way, and even if let me just stop that. That was a joke. 2 million I still ain't coming out my drawers, because at the end of the day, I'm doing this God's way. God is more than anything to me. But I'm saying that to say you have to let God address those voids. Otherwise, you're gonna find yourself being with a guy like Nick Cannon. You're gonna find yourself being just another woman that he says, "I wish I had got her pregnant. I wish I had knocked her down." I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you right now, because God, what is that on me? Oh, Jesus, what was that? I think that was a ladybug. But anyhow, I have to calm down. Y'all, I got a back door right here and it's wooded in my backyard. I need some blessed oil, because I just saw something red on my leg. But anyhow, some of y'all, you're flattered way too easily, and people capitalize on that. Just laugh it off. I'm good. I almost died, I think. But I just looked at my leg and I'm like, I ain't got no bump on my leg. Yeah, I'm looking at my leg like, why is this big old red bump? Then I hit it and it came off and then it was sticking to my finger. Jesus. Jesus. Okay. All right. All right. Y'all have seen me in worse situations. Y'all have seen me with spiders on the wall. It was one of those big water bugs in my house yesterday. I just be going through it. They always in this section. Yeah, I got to get some home defense. I got to do that again, because they're always in this section. Always in this section right here, because there's a back door right there. Anytime something gets in, it's always in this section, and I feel like I'd be fighting for my life. I sprayed a big old water bug yesterday. I prayed that he didn't have wings. He got his wings after I got through spraying him, but I was praying that he didn't have wings to chase me. But they want the word. That's right. They trying to come out of fornication. They trying to get them lives. So the objective of this, guys, is so that I can help you to build you up so that you can prepare for marriage. You can prepare for marriage. That way you don't find yourself ended up just in these relationships that last 3, 4, 5 years, sometimes 1 year, getting knocked down, having kids, and then you find yourself in this repeated cycle. Yeah, I gave him his wings. I know I sprayed him. I saw him run. I was glad he ran instead of flying. I was like, praise God. I flew him out. He said that he got his wings. I flew him out. The objective, if you believe that you're called to be a spouse, if you believe that God wants to make you a spouse, understand that God said when he blesses you, add no sorrow to it. You got to do it God's way to get God's results. If you want kingdom results, you have to do it God's way. And you want to make sure that you know the patterns of people, right? You want to know what's in the world, and not just what's in the world, because what's in the world has crept into the church. The spirit of the world, you will find it in the church. You will find a lot of people with the spirit of the world in the church. And so you want to be aware of the patterns, right? You want to be aware so that you don't find yourself, doing something that you shouldn't have done because you got it in your head that this is going to work. Like I said, for a lot of you, you may be single, you may be good, and you're like, hey, this helps me for any future relationship. But there are some people on here right now that are currently in relationships, right? And you really needed to hear that. You need to prepare yourself because you could potentially find yourself, ended up having kids with a person. And that person is no longer present in your life. It's funny how a person can end up, start off being like the best thing that ever happened to you, and then end up being the worst thing that ever happened to you. There are people on here that could testify that they thought that guy, or they thought that woman was the best thing that ever happened to them, turned out to be the worst thing that ever happened to them. So you don't want to end up getting caught up in your feelings. One of the things I want to say before I get off of here is this. I've said this before. It is American culture for us to idolize our feelings. It is American culture for us to idolize our feelings, which is what leads to divorce, because you become so infatuated with how you feel, and you're always looking for a specific feeling. That's dangerous. You want to learn how to live life soberly. The Bible tells us to be of a sober mind. You want to learn how to live life soberly. That means that when you come in contact with people, you don't want to fall in love. I'm sorry, I gotta say it out loud. I don't want to be under a spell. You want to date soberly. You want to be able to sit back and look at this person from a sober place, not from a what you doing to me? What you doing to me? What you doing to me? That right there, you're intoxicated. You're under a spell. And when I say a spell, I'm not talking about somebody got a potion, but potions are really just words. I'm saying you're under a spell. You're under the influence of your imagination, and you're under the influence of words. So you want to be careful that you don't build relationships like that, because while they are pretty in the beginning, they're bitter in the end. You want to be careful that you don't build relationships like that because they don't last. You want to be careful that you don't build relationships like that because what they do is they cause a great deal of heartache and a great deal of delay. If you're planning to be a spouse and you want a healthy, godly relationship with your spouse that lasts until one or both of y'all give up your last breath, you have to do it God's way. But you want to make sure that you are aware. The Bible says, be wise as a serpent. You want to be aware of the wiles of the devil. You want to be aware of the wiles of the devil, because if you're not aware of the wiles of the devil, you will find yourself sucking faces with the weapon that was formed against you. You will find yourself in a drive-through with Sonic, sitting there smiling in the car with the weapon that was formed against you, all happy and excited because you got a cheeseburger coming out and he paying. What? I can get enlarged? Or you end up flattered over stupid stuff. It's childish. We got to grow up, y'all. He put a hickey on my neck. And you flattered? That is insecurity. That's him marking territory. That's him saying, I think there's another man that you might be messing with, and I'm alerting him that you're with me. He put a hickey on my neck, girl. Girl, I slept with him and he didn't even wear no condom, and he didn't even use the withdrawal method. Girl, and you flattered. That's why we have so many kids standing in the welfare line. Because we get flattered. We're addicted to our feelings. Because you're flattered when somebody's disrespecting you. You're flattered while being disrespected. You don't even know you should be offended. You don't even know that that person is really literally sitting here and saying, I want to mark you for the rest of your life. Rather than you just saying, let me do it God's way. Let me stay out. Let me present my body as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is my reasonable service. Rather than you saying that, you rather get in a relationship with somebody who doesn't love God, somebody who barely even likes God. And you flatter because he's trying to give you a kid. All right, listen, let me say this. The worldly version of Tiffany, when I was in the world, I had more sense than that. I had more sense than that. Please don't tell me y'all in the church and y'all still falling for that. I had more sense than that. When I was in the world, I wasn't flattered when a guy talked about. I only had one time I was flattered when a guy asked me for a kid. I was 16 years old. Was I 16? Yeah, I was 16 years old. I was 16 years old. That flattery went out the window. You know why? Because I had older people around me. And in Mississippi, they would tell you, and they educated me. Plus, I had those womanizing family members that I learned a lot from. I had those uncles that were out there getting these women pregnant. And they weren't present in those kids' lives. But you know what? They smiled when they found out the woman was pregnant. They showed all three of their gold toothpieces. They said that, you pregnant? You pregnant? And y'all flattered. Then you hurt when you look on social media and find out that 2-3 years later down the road, he got another girl pregnant. And that ain't the first one he got pregnant since you. He running around spreading his seed out like it ain't nothing. He knocking everybody up that even dares to give it to him. But then he wanted to take those jobs that he worked under the table so he don't have to pay you child support. Yeah. I'm gonna get out of here before I get offensive. Because I'm gonna say this, and I don't mind being offensive, because I think personally, okay, I heard the Lord say don't go there. I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm saying this to say, when it comes down to it, You gotta use wisdom. The kingdom way, the king's way, God's way will protect you. But any other way will get you temporary gratification. A kid, a restraining order, a bunch of unsevered soul ties, and a pattern of a type. So you're gonna keep dating the same demon and a different dude or a different woman, and you'll spend the rest of your life in cycles, never knowing what it feels like to be loved by another person. That's your choice. Or you can do it God's way, and God give you somebody that's gonna love you for the rest of your life. That's gonna be there for you, and God, that person that's gonna cover you when you're asleep, they're gonna put their hands on you. Father, protect my wife. Like, put your hand, Lord, cover my husband, cover his mind, the blood of Jesus. Keep him. Somebody that's gonna be with you for the rest of your life, or you can keep doing it the world's way. It's up to you. It's up to you. That's it. I love y'all. I gotta go. I'll talk to y'all soon. Y'all pray for me in this water bug because I don't know where he went. I'm just assuming he went somewhere else. I'm not too scared of water bugs because I used to pick them up when I was a kid. So I'm not freaking out in totality. If it had been a different type of bug, y'all would have watched his computer and everything else flip over. But I pray God's blessings over you guys. Thank you so much. And I shall talk to you soon. Bye-bye.